Good morning, everyone, and welcome to the Sedgwick County Board of County Commissioners meeting. Welcome to those joining online, Facebook, and YouTube, and everyone joining us in person. We're glad you're here today. When you walk in, we always encourage you to grab a meeting agenda that allows you to follow along with all the items that we're discussing at the County Commission meeting. If you're ever curious about supporting documents, you have access. You can go to sedgwickcounty.org. Now, let's get to work. We have a great agenda ahead for April 22nd, 2026. Madam Clerk, first item.
Invocation to be led by Pastor Adam Leichner, West Evangelical Free Church. Please remain standing for the Pledge of Allegiance.
Morning.
Dear Heavenly Father, we thank you for today. Thank you for our leaders. And Lord, we just pray for wisdom and for discernment. God, we pray for protection for our first responders. And Lord, we just pray for a great meeting today and for you just to lead in wisdom. We pray these things in Jesus' name. Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Next item, please.
Roll call. Commissioner Meitzner. Commissioner Beatty.
Present.
Commissioner Howell.
Present.
Commissioner Wise.
Present.
Chairman Luba.
Present. Next item.
County announcements.
Good morning, Nicole.
Good morning, Chairman and Commissioners. Nicole Gibbs of Strategic Communications. In Sedgwick County, we have kicked off the budget simulator. It's returned for the 2027 budget. Every year, commissioners and staff focus on providing high-quality services while balancing the amount of property taxes needed to support the work. Visit sedgwickcounty.org/budget simulator to share your feedback on priorities and help us balance the budget. Want to do a quick reminder that there's a burn ban issued by the state of Kansas. It's still in effect for Sedgwick County throughout the month of April. This annual burn ban helps keep our air clean while farmers and ranchers conduct controlled burns that eliminate weeds and nourish the soil, making it better for growing grass, hay, and crops. The Sedgwick County Environmental Resources e-waste collection event starts Thursday, April 23rd. Recycle your electronic waste safely and free of charge at the Sedgwick County West Yard located at 4701 South West Street. The event will go through Saturday, April 25th, and then it happens again the next week, Thursday, April 30th through Saturday, May 2nd. Visit sedgwickcounty.org/environment for the full list of items accepted. The Sedgwick County Sheriff's Office will partner with the DEA on Saturday, April 25th to host National Prescription Drug Take-Back Day. This goes from 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. and will be at 3 locations across Sedgwick County. The sheriff's officers will be at these 3 locations: the Sedgwick County Zoo, the Household Hazardous Waste Facility, and the Oaklawn Activity Center. In partnership with local law enforcement, the effort has removed more than 20.4 million pounds of medication from circulation nationwide. For more information and find additional locations in the Wichita and Sedgwick County area, visit dea.gov/takebackday. And for today's county good news, we want to recognize the risk management team. They were honored by the American Red Cross as a 2025 top training provider. In 2025, risk management facilitated the issuance of over 200 life-saving training certifications. These efforts as a training agency not only have a lifelong impact on the individuals trained, but also directly impact the individuals they encounter throughout their lives. So we want to give a shout out of appreciation to them for their work. And that's all I have for today. Okay. I'll stand for any questions.
Commissioners, do you have any questions? All right.
And then, if it's possible, sir, we would like to have the appraiser come out also during county announcements to give her report.
Absolutely. She's got a lot going on right now. So
yes, sir.
Bring her up. Deanna, if you don't mind.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Good morning, Commissioners and Chairman. How are you?
Good.
We are going to bring up the dashboard.
Right.
This one. Hopefully you can see it well enough. As you can see, it changed some from last week. IT and I have been working to work through the kinks on the information on the dashboard, and this is on the Appraiser's Office homepage. The first chart, which is up on the top left-hand corner, it has been part of the charts that we've had from the beginning. And as you can see, for 2026, for the total informal appeal count for this tax year is at 9659. If you go to the right, you actually can hover on these and it brings up the count a little bit larger if you're wanting to see that. But if you go to that next chart over is actually the closed appeals results. And then if you see that there's a percentage on no change, which is 51.34% with a count of 690 appeals when they were closed. They had a no valuation change. When you go down to the next one down and hover over that, which I just had it, where did it go? You see that our value adjustment percentage is 39.73, which is a total count of 534 appeals when they were closed, a value adjustment was made. And then it does show, if you want to hover back down, it will show the counts, but as you can see, it'll show the ones that were canceled, no showed, or dismissed, or an invalid appeal. And then if you go back over to the left-hand side down to the bottom chart, again, if you hover over the different bars, you can see, but for tax year, this is total counts for all types of appeals, and you can see that for 2026, it's 9659 because we've only had our informal appeals, but if you went back to 2025, it's 9704, but that would be for all of the appeals. And if you did some calculation, you could see if you subtracted the 86 up above 8686 from the total below 9704, you would have the difference between that are all the upper level appeals if you really wanted to do that. I don't know if you'd want to or not, but you do have the ability to see that. And then the chart to the right on the bottom, I am working with IT on this because I thought it would be nice to see a percentage also on that. And so we are working on doing a percentage, not just the count. But when you're looking at the overall count, and I actually went and did the calculations on that, it's we're close to 14% of them have been heard, with 86% of them still left to be heard. Right now we are scheduled through May the 8th for our appeals. We have to have all of our appeals conducted by May 15th, and we have to have all of our results, we need to have them done and mailing them out on May the 20th so that we can certify our tax roll to the clerk on June 1st. So, and it's all that's all state statutory. So I'm open for any questions. I forgot to announce I'm Deanna Aspidon I'm the Sedgwick County Appraiser. So, but do you have any questions? I'll be happy to answer any questions you have.
Thank you. I want to make a couple comments. I had my appeals last Friday. I think I did 10 or 11 of them. Started out pretty frustrated. You and I have already had this discussion because the first 6 or 7 were comparables they couldn't use. And I know there's auction properties when they add the word absolute. What were the ones that I was mentioning earlier that you were saying why they couldn't be accepted?
And I will expand on the absolute auction. So the thought process on that is that that if the seller doesn't have the right to refuse any bid, I have a little thought process on that, and I know that McCurdy Auctions come and spoke with our office too. It really, but we still have to follow those guidelines because that's what we have. But I do see the point where if if it was high enough attended, if the auction was high enough attended, enough bidders, then it may wash itself out and really wouldn't matter whether or not the seller had a right to refuse the bids, because there would be so many bids that they to choose from that it would be open market for them. But that's why we can't use absolute right now. But the other ones are like if the house was settling estate, so then it went through probate, so then there was a judicial order for selling of the home, even though it was put on the open market. A real estate agent had it on the open market, and they may very well had a good offer that was market value. We can't use those either, and right now we can't use foreclosures, even though those could be listed on the open market, depending on who is bidding on that or looking at that. Those are the three top that really get really confusing, because they're automatically thrown out, even though it appears they're on the open market, because they may be listed with a real estate agent.
Yeah, that was the judicial, because I knew not to include auction items, but when the judicial orders, when you have no way to know that, and I knew not to use the foreclosures, but you remember, like in 2008, that was the majority of what was selling in some areas. So the reason I bring it up today is, as we look to next year in our legislative agenda, my push has always been to what is the market, and I think you're there too. You know, let's utilize what the market is, regardless of what's selling and how it's selling. So I hope later on in the year we can have some discussions about this and hopefully get some stuff on the legislative agenda that, you know, we can get them to look at the whole market and not just pick it apart for these values. So, but the rest of my appeals, very professional. Spent a lot of time explaining things that I didn't understand, and I know a lot of folks didn't understand. So I certainly appreciate the office and them working with me and taking the extra time to explain everything. So any other questions or comments? All right. Well, I know you got a lot to do, so thank you.
Thank you.
Next item.
Public agenda.
Public agenda. And it looks like we have 3 people signed up on the public agenda. Andrew Cisco. And if you could please state your name and address when you come up to the podium. Good morning.
Morning. Good morning, Chairman and Sedgwick County Commissioners. My name is Andre Cisco. I live at 5015 Jade, Wichita, Kansas 67216. As you have many important things to think about during budget time, it is very hard and difficult times for all. I want to stop and think about a few things in relationship to senior centers. Not all senior centers are the same and cannot offer the same things. Senior centers are there to help meet the wide variety of needs for seniors in the golden years. Seniors go to senior centers for human connection. Seniors go to senior centers for a good meal. Seniors go to play a game of pool, cards, line dance, exercise classes. Seniors go for trips that seniors would not be able to take otherwise if they were not able to go on. Seniors go to help and try and find resources that can help their budget last till the end of the month. As you're working on the upcoming budget, I would like you to share a thought from a senior point of view. I watched a video with Sedgwick County Manager, and he was talking about the state not funding what should have been to help them meet the needs of Sedgwick County, and Sedgwick County having to make up the difference to meet the basic needs that the state requires. Seniors have the same thought about Sedgwick County not funding what should be to help senior centers. While the voters agreed to approve up to $1 million for senior activities, Sedgwick County has not done this. It has done the opposite. 2021, seniors received 0.49 of a mil. In 2022, seniors received 0.37 mils. In 2023, the seniors received 0.38 mils. In 2024, the seniors received 0.372 mils. In 2025 and 2026, seniors received 0.330 mils. While Sedgwick County is very aware of the cost of living has gone up, as well as cost of utilities, general rent for seniors goes up every year, leaving seniors a harder life during what's known as their golden years. They must not lose things that they enjoy at senior centers. Thank you for your time, and please look at the flatlining senior budget. Thank you.
Thank you for advocating for seniors. Commissioner Howe has a question.
Thank you, Chairman. Andre Cisco, thank you for being here. I know you're appearing today as a member of the OID community,
Okay,
as a member of the one who participates in the senior center.
Correct.
But you're not appearing as an elected official today.
Correct.
I just want to get your thoughts. There has been some discussion regarding formula changes to how we fund our senior programming, if you will.
Correct.
And there's a proposal right now that would change how much money goes to senior centers. In Oaklawn right now, if I understand correctly, about 1 mil is around $7,000 of property tax, and OID has been subsidizing the senior center there for quite some time, even though a lot of the members don't live in Oaklawn. Okay.
Correct.
But actually in both proposals that I've seen recently, the Oaklawn would go from about $57,000 as a subsidy for the services that are done there to around $20,000 or $22,000 a year. I'd just like to know your thoughts. What would happen to the senior center if that was to happen?
My thoughts as a senior, I have two thoughts. One is that I not only attend the Oaklawn Senior Center, or Oaklawn Sunview Senior Center, I also attend Linwood Senior Center. And both of those senior centers are in danger with the formula that was set up for both of those. I get a fine line between, I'm here as a community person. My plan is to return again as underneath Oaklawn Improvement District. But Oaklawn Improvement District does not have the tax base that Hayesville has, Derby has, Goddard has, any of those areas. Oaklawn is landlocked, so we can't build anything other than what is happening in Meadow Lake Beach 2nd Edition because it was already part of Oaklawn. So we don't have a way of increasing our tax base. My thought on what would happen to both of those senior centers would be very, very questionable. With the one in Linwood, I get very upset because the city of Wichita doesn't put any money into their senior centers. Yeah. So I can't answer that part of it, but I know that the two senior centers that I attend on a normal basis are both in danger with the formula that is out there.
I would make one observation, and that is we're trying to change how we think about budgeting, even though the ballot question in, I think it was 1982, I believe it was, for the senior question, that related, if you will, spending and how it fits under up to 1 mil is what it said. Mm-hmm. And even in your letter this morning, you talk about the different mill levies. We're trying to move away from discussion about mill levies because it's not relatable to assessed value. Assessed value goes up, mill levy should basically go down to equal the same number of dollars. We ought to be focused. I guess my point is I'm trying to focus on the dollars side of this. One thing I would note is that senior funding has, on the dollars side of that equation, hasn't changed substantially even since I've been a commissioner.
Yeah.
And even if we simply just allowed a consumer price index factor to kind of keep up with inflation because commodities cost more, things like that, that would be maybe a fair way for us to I guess, provide funding to senior services and senior centers, if you will. But that actually hasn't happened. The mill levies actually have dropped. The dollars have gone up for some of the other programming, but for senior centers, it's been pretty flat. So I think I appreciate you appearing today and making us think about this again.
It has been flatlined for a long time. The only thing that I could use as an individual draw numbers that I can draw off of. I know that because I was on the senior advisory board for a number of years and have done that role and a few other roles, that the money hasn't changed in what's going. I'm not talking about whether the funding formula is good or bad or how to look at it, because I was 1 years ago advocating for a different kind of formula, so I agree with that. But the county is not giving enough money into the senior programs, period. I'm not necessarily talking about senior centers on their own. I'm just talking on a whole. You can't keep any budget flatlined for the amount of time that the county has left seniors flatlined and expect that it's okay, because cost of living goes up, the utilities go up. It's crazy. But for me today, I'm here to ask the county commissioners to reevaluate and take a look at the total dollars that are put into the seniors on a whole, not necessarily Oaklawn Improvement District or Linwood. As far as what will happen to those two, if I go the OID part, I'm one board member in 3, and I've fought for the seniors many, many years, but I don't have the same board I had.
Yeah.
So I can't answer what we'll do with that center. I know that it's a piece of property. I could rent it out.
Yeah. Thanks for your appearance this morning. I appreciate your thoughts.
Sure.
Thank you. Thank you, Chairman.
Commissioner Bates.
Ms. Cisco, thank you so much. And I'll note that your testimony that you just read, you gave us a copy, so we'll make sure the county clerk gets it and it gets submitted into the formal record. I just want to say this conversation, this is my 4th year now and 4th budget as a county commissioner. This has been a conversation we've had since the day I got here. If you think about the entire aging budget, if you combine it now with CDDO, Jeanette's here, obviously, but you're looking at $20.7 million that we fund to aging and CDDO services. I think the aging piece of that, do this if I'm close, it's around $13 million, I think, is the aging piece of it. A lot of that is meals. A lot of it is food. A lot of it is the services we provide. About $770,000 of it goes to senior centers, and we're funding and supporting about 19 senior centers. You made an interesting comment that many of these senior centers, like Derby, like the Oaklawn Senior Center, like Goddard, like Valley Center, like Park City, all these senior centers get support from their cities. The senior centers that are really struggling are in Wichita, and they don't get any support from the city of Wichita. So what we're trying to do here is figure out exactly what is the role of senior centers, which we believe there is a role, and an important role, in our entire aging budget, and what is happening at the senior centers that we can help justify the dollars and increase in dollars, so that we can take what's happening in aging and happening in senior centers and have some sort of synergies, so we're accomplishing the same goals. Because we know that there's more happening at senior centers than just fellowship. We understand that. There's a lot happening there. So I say all that to say thank you for contending. Thank you for advocating. It's been helpful over the years to have you come here and help advocate for what's happening, particularly in Oaklawn, but senior centers in general. This conversation is continuing on how we make sure that the role of the senior center is appropriate in the total aging budget, which is a significant amount of dollars that are going to aging services in Sedgwick County.
Correct, but and I could be wrong on this one, but a couple years ago, and I'm probably 4 or 5 now because time goes by, I'm getting old, but the seniors on a whole combined with a disability. So it's actually the aging department and the disability department. So that is a lot of money that you're talking about that is going in there, but the breakdown of it is there. And I think it's like $880,000 that are actually going to senior centers. I don't have the exact number.
770.
7, thank you, which is less than what I thought. But the thing to remember also on senior centers is if you don't have a place for these people to go to eat lunch, then you've got to look at a subsidization for them to be able to get good nutrition into their bodies. And that's a part of things that we don't even get to count as people that come in. Yeah. As far as Oaklawn's concerned, when I look at my numbers and I look at what I was going to try not to go that route, but it's kind of like I get 1/3 of Oaklawn residents into Oaklawn Senior Center. The rest of them come from other places, and they come from other places because of a number of different reasons. One, we provide a free meal. We provide ice if they want to go home, which a lot of people don't think a whole lot about a bag of ice, but that's $5.
Sure.
So we provide services that we don't necessarily think of.
Yeah.
Plus, the Oaklawn site has a DCF office located inside of it to also to be able to help seniors or people that need assistance with that angle
Well,
also.
Ms.
So,
Cisco, we appreciate it. Thank you so much. The work you do is really valuable.
thank you.
Commissioner Meitzner's got a question.
Yeah, thank you, and thanks again for being here and sharing your. I just have a question: Is the Lord's Diner still providing the meals for you guys?
The Lord's Diner, actually, that's why I have this shirt on right here, because the Lord's Diner does provide meals in Oaklawn on the backside of Old Carlton out of their
Right.
kitchen.
Yep.
And the Oaklawn Senior Center, we go there once a month, the third Friday of the month, and we help serve those meals.
Yeah, well, I appreciate the cooperation.
So yes, they are there and they are still thriving.
And I'm on the board at Lord's Diner, and I know we've had that obligation for a few years now, and but the Lord's Diner does not provide any other senior centers with any other food service, just you all.
Well, it's
And
it's not provided at the senior center. It's provided at the activity center, which
Okay.
is different from the senior center. But I see a lot of people, because I run the meals. I do the Lord's Diner twice a month,
Thank
once
you for
with the
doing that.
Oaklawn Sunview Senior Center and once with the Derby Optimist Club. A lot of people that go through that list come through those driveway for the 5 to 6 o'clock are some of the exact same people that I see sitting at lunch at my senior center.
Okay. Well, it's good that all of us in the community are working to provide whatever we can to help
I
seniors.
agree,
Okay.
100%.
Thank you.
Thank you very much for coming in.
You bet. Have a good day.
Next speaker, Faith Martin. Morning, Faith.
Morning. Faith Martin, District 5, 608 South Jersey. I wasn't going to talk about senior centers, but while she was talking, I was just thinking, it seems like there's a lot of conversation from the bench about parity, but what they're asking for is equity, because not all senior centers are created equal. And yes, I'd love to Wichita to step up, but that's a segue into what I really wanted to talk about, which is over the last 4 years, 3 years, I'm not sure. I've been here every year during the budget cycle to request that we take a look at the WSU mill levy. And I really appreciate the work staff has put into it. I really appreciate the conversation with multiple commissioners about this. The last thing we heard was last year when the decision to change or make any editing on that would be before May 1st. So I'm here before May 1st to ask that you give the public an update on where we are, especially when we're talking about millions of dollars of assessed value, which the assessed value is not what the citizens that live in Sedgwick County get. It's what WSU gets, the full assessed value, whereas we get a much smaller percentage that goes towards services that we care about. So it doesn't have to be today, but I would appreciate something put out to the public talking about we're gonna do something about this now, or we're gonna put it off for another year. And I would hope that we don't come back another year and that we make a decision on this and have serious conversations with Wichita about this. I didn't hear it brought up in the meeting on Monday, which was a tri-governmental meeting. So I would really appreciate if we could move somewhere 4 years down the road. It was LAVTR, then they got rid of that, so we can't get any money back there. Now there's this. So when we talk about 13, and I don't even know what assessed value is this year, it could be higher, 14 million. That's money that could go towards services that people really care about.
I'm going to ask, Justin, can you kind of clarify what the May 1st date's all about?
Certainly, Chairman Justin Wagner, County Councilor. That date is in the contract between the City of Wichita and Sedgwick County, and it has to do with a contract that was agreed to in 1987. This is an item that went out to a City of Wichita citywide vote in the 60s to impose the 1.5 mills, and then in 1987, under KSA 19-117, the Board of County Commissioners at the time decided to enact a county-wide mill levy of the 1.5 mills and reached an agreement with the City of Wichita on that. It was an interlocal agreement. Those types of agreements have to be approved by the Attorney General's office, so do any amendments also have to be approved. So essentially, it took the 1.5 mils and expanded it from within the city limits of the city of Wichita, which the voters voted on, and expanded it out into the entirety of the county. And the only way that can be well, let me get back to the contract, which is what you asked about. The contract has a deadline of notifying the county would have to notify the city if it wanted to change something or terminate the agreement by on or before May 1st of each year to be effective the next budget year. There are a couple things to mention in that I think that are worth noting. One of which is, and we've talked about this before some, the bonding. There are two different projects, the Bardo Center and the Cessna Stadium project. Both of those projects involve bonding, where a portion of the commitment on that from the county commissioners and entering into those was the 1.5 mils. So I would relay to the board that we've had some discussions with bond counsel. Any substantial change to that is inadvisable and would carry risk. That's just worth noting. The other part of it is that there would probably be, even if there was a will on the part of the board to amend the contract for 2027, the timing is challenging is probably the best way to put it in terms of if you would wish to do that now for the 2027 budget, because they're on those interlocal agreements with the Attorney General's office. There's a requirement that once you reach an agreement, so let's just say us and the city even had an agreement today, they have 90 days to look at it. This would impact mill levies if such an amendment were reached. Even if you put all the bonding considerations aside, that would have an impact on budgeting, and you'd be doing it right in the middle of the budgeting process. And then I also did want to note that, in this, the agreement itself, like I said, there are requirements that the county would have to continue funding those two projects that have already been bonded out. I'd be happy to stand for any other questions on that. I guess one last thing I would mention is there's also a variable here that's, it's us and all the other municipalities in the state are looking at it, is we don't know what Governor Kelly's going to do with the bill that's in front of her that would, that essentially if it goes into law or she signs it into law will establish a cap that applies to municipalities. And at this point, we have no idea what Governor Kelly is going to do or let happen on that bill. So there's a lot of moving pieces and variables there too, Chairman.
Yeah, that's certain. Very important piece of it. Commissioner Howell.
Thank you, Chairman. I guess whether the legislature, whether the governor signs that bill or not, almost doesn't matter to me at this point. I think that the shot has been made across our bow that things are going to change. If not this year, then certainly next year. And Faith has been faithful about appearing before us and said this numerous times. And I'll just relate to you. I've asked manager to hopefully have a staff meeting at some point. My personal opinion is that it's unfair to the taxpayers for us to essentially give them a full assessed value when we have to live under, if you will, a CPI or 3%, whichever's less, policy from the state. And so what that means is we'll have to cut something else within our budget to give them that full assessed value. That's not fair. And so I think that knowing that language is what they've settled on, I would like to see us apply that policy to WSU as soon as possible, which again, I would love to see that notification go out this year so it would affect the 2027 budget. I don't know if we have enough time for that, but that would be my desire. And I agree with you. I think that, that's essentially holds harmless the rest of the taxpayers for policy that's been adopted a very, very long time ago. It just brings it back to say that they're not going to be able to pull from the rest of our budget to get those extra dollars. I think that's reasonable and it's fair. So I appreciate you bringing this up once again.
Let's go. Justin or Tom, maybe you can help clarify. I was 6 years old when the Sedgwick County entered into the agreement with the city of Wichita. The WSU mill levy was voted on by the citizens of the city of Wichita for local government to support Wichita State University. I think that was the premise. What was the premise to making it county instead of just the city of Wichita? Why is the operating agreement in place that the county will be the ones administering 1.5 mils, which is about $12 million roughly, and it just passes through us right to Wichita State University? What is the impetus to where the county is doing that now instead of the city of Wichita? What was that conversation in the 80s?
And I obviously was not in my position in the 1980s either. My recollection on that, Commissioner Beatty, was that the idea was to broaden the tax base. Obviously, that occurred. The county is a bigger tax base than the city, just geographically and tax-wise. And my understanding was to support Wichita State, and that was what the commissioners at the time wanted to do. I know Commissioner Howell's researched that in depth, so I'm looking to him to see if I got any of that wrong, but I think it was intended to be by the commissioners in 1987 a commitment towards Wichita State University. That doesn't mean it's set in stone forever, but the bonding issuances on the two projects I talked about really do operate to limit really what's advisable for the board.
I understand that. I think the impetus, in my view, is after talking to leadership at Wichita State, and not to imply that Commissioner Howell was on the Board of County Commission then, but he's done a lot of research on this, was that Wichita State University is serving a regional base now. There are 20 cities in Sedgwick County. I represent Mays and Park City and Valley Center and parts of Keachai and Sedgwick and all the unincorporated part, and they too take advantage of things that are happening in Wichita State. It's not just the city of Wichita. And I think that's one point that was the reason why it was expanded to Sedgwick County, is that these other individuals that live outside the city of Wichita can take part in some of these benefits that are happening at Wichita State with the taxpayer-approved mill levy. The other piece of that is, and I want the public to be keenly aware, is this is a voter-approved initiative. If Sedgwick County decided we weren't doing it, the city of Wichita would still have to implement and have a significant budget impact to where now they would have to absorb the 1.5 mils, which would be a tax increase likely in their budget to the city of Wichita. So the 1.5 mils is always going to exist. The question is who's administering and who gets the value. Do the people that live outside of the city of Wichita also get value in this, which is why Sedgwick County is doing it. Now, the conversation about limiting the assessed value growth, there's merit to that conversation. And I appreciate because you and a group of people have led in that conversation. There is merit to that if there's 9.3% assessed value growth in the county, and we're limiting our budget to 4%, and we're only going to capture that, WSU is still getting the full 9.3% that's passed through on that 1.5 mils. That's a bona fide conversation that we need to have. But the premise of who's administering it and who gets the value of it is a much bigger conversation. But appreciate your leadership and the conversations we've had on that.
And I would request that you add that to your legislative agenda because, yes, this is guided by state law. This is the only entity within the city or Sedgwick County that gets this type of privilege. There's not any other entity that can come up here and say, well, the state is making you give us $13 million. And you can't do anything about it. Even the bond that county commissioner or county council talked about, those bonding issues are barely $500,000. So we're still talking about millions of dollars. I would really encourage when people are struggling to pay their taxes, when people are struggling, this is something we can't just assume like they get it, whatever. They do a lot for the community, but so do other entities.
Commissioner Meister's got a question, but before then I want to ask Justin, just to clarify again, Commissioner Beatty's comment, the city of Wichita voted on this in the 60s, but Sedgwick County never voted on it. It was a policy adoption.
That's correct, Chairman. The people never voted on it. It was the commissioners under a statute that allowed them to do so. And the statute's still in place. But so if say, for example, the county was completely out of taxing on this and it just shifted entirely to the city, the folks in the unincorporated area and non-city of Wichita cities would not have the 1.5 mils, but the whatever it is, roughly 80% of the residents that are Sedgwick County residents within the city of Wichita would have the exact same tax assessed based on that 1960s vote.
So if it's a little late this year, but if the county ever wanted to look at that, would there be an opportunity to, if we're going to go forward, the county has an opportunity to vote on that?
Well, and I already mentioned some of the bonding concerns on that. And I used the word if any substantial changes would be made. Any changes could involve some risk is what bond counsel's indicated on that. Any significant changes carry more risk, I think is probably the best way to look at it. There could be, the tax that went into place for the city of Wichita that allowed this to go out to a vote in the 1960s, I think it was Wichita University at the time. I think it was actually before it was Wichita State University. I believe there could be something the commission could consider is legislative item to potentially modify that statute. In fact, that might be simpler than some of what we're talking about with amending the agreements. And I do want to give Lindsay Poe-Rousseau credit because this is an idea that she had thought of. It would probably be simpler to amend that and pass along any cap that may exist in this statute, or the bill that's in front of Governor Kelly, if that becomes law, or if there's something else, some other language the board may wish to put that into the statute and see if we can modify it in that way. But Chairman, to your question, in terms of if you put everything else aside and said you just wanted to get out of this, and if you're just looking at KSA 19-117, there's two different options. They're the same two options that could be taken into account when this went into place in 1987. One would be you have to have, I can't remember if it's a 2/3 or a 3/4 majority for you. It's the same math. You'd have to have 4 commissioners agree to not levy the tax anymore, or you'd have to have at least 3 of you agree to put it on a ballot, and then the taxpayers would have to vote to take it off of, out of issuing it. Again, I would certainly caution doing anything like that could be financially unadvisable because of consequences if you've got bonded projects, and if you would take it off of there, I think that could not be ideal for the county in terms of our bonding capacity and also the AAA credit rating that we have right now.
Commissioner Meissner?
Yeah, Justin, thanks for all of the legal and the background. If I can add, I think that at the time, what I had learned was in the 60s, it was still Wichita University, and they wanted to be part of the state system, college system, and the state college system at the time said you need to show an investment locally on top of what we would do at the state level. So that was the emphasis on the vote, is to join. That's why it's called Wichita State, ironically. And then some of the minutes and some of the history is that the county commissioners at the time felt that a lot of citizens and mainly students that were outside the city limits of Wichita could benefit from being part of the scholarships and everything else. So we would, if we went to Wichita only, it would isolate the other sections of, as you stated. So anyway, just a little background to add to that. So thanks.
Okay. Anything else? All right. Thanks, Faith. Next speaker, Harley Anderson. Okay. So that is all of our public speakers. I'd like to make a motion to receive and file public comment.
Second.
A motion and a second. Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Commissioner Meitzner.
Aye.
Commissioner Beatty.
Aye.
Commissioner Howell.
Aye.
Commissioner Wise.
Aye.
Chairman Blubow.
Aye. And the motion passes 5-0. Madam Clerk, next item.
Appointments.
Justin?
Yes, thank you, Chairman. Justin Wagner, County Councilor. There's 2 items under appointments, items A and B. They're both for the same advisory board, and they're for the Sedgwick County Community Corrections Advisory Board and at-large positions. There's 2 of those. The first would be reappointing Reverend Dr. Pamela M. Hughes, and then the second one would be appointing Seth Dewey. You could just simply take the recommended action by a vote on a single motion, Chairman. Thank you.
Commissioners, any comments? I'd like to make a motion to approve items A and B.
Second.
Motion is second. Before I go to the vote.
No, you're fine.
Okay. A motion is second. Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Commissioner Meitzner.
Aye.
Commissioner Beatty.
Aye.
Commissioner Howell.
Aye.
Commissioner Wise.
Aye.
Chairman Blubow.
Aye. And the motion passes 5-0. And I believe they're both here today. Would you guys like to come up and say any words or get them sworn in?
Please raise your right hand. I do solemnly swear that I will support the Constitution of the United States and the Constitution of the State of Kansas, and faithfully discharge the duties of the office of Sedgwick County Community Corrections Advisory Board, so help me God.
I do.
Thank you. If you would sign, thanks. Have you sign, is this yours?
morning.
We're just making sure we have the right certificate. Hallelujah. Just wanted to say thank you so much for this reappointment. It is indeed an honor to continue to serve.
Yeah. If I could, Reverend Pamela Hughes Mason, a lot of people just call her Pastor Pam. Her presence in our community is rather profound. Not only is she the Reverend, the pastor of St. Paul AME, the African Methodist Episcopal Church, the oldest African American church in Wichita, but she's also Greater Wichita Ministerial League. She also serves on leadership at Justice Together. She also serves in this role and other roles. So I just want you to know how grateful we are that you continue to pour in and serve and pastor your community in so many different ways. And this is a big board, very important board, especially with all the things that we're working on, juvenile, other areas. The work that goes on in there is really important. And your voice at that table is really, really important to us. So I just want to thank you for serving and continuing to serve.
Thank you, Commissioner Ryan.
Thank you. Morning.
Good morning. As a person who serves as a director of a substance use treatment facility here in Wichita and a relatively new resident to Sedgwick County, I just want to say thanks for the opportunity.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you for stepping up. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Okay.
Next item.
New business, item C, project search graduation recognition.
Okay. Janet Livingston will be speaking this morning. Good morning.
Good morning, Commissioners. Jeanette Livingston, the Deputy Director for the Sedgwick County Developmental Disability Organization, part of the Sedgwick County Department on Aging and Disabilities. This is my favorite day. I love recognizing our Project Search graduates. So Project Search is a program that partners a school district with an employer to give students with disabilities in their final year of school some additional job experience, some real-world work experience with an actual supervisor and coworkers and all that stuff that we probably all take for granted. Sedgwick County partners with Wichita Public Schools. Wichita Public Schools also has a site at Via Christi St. Francis. The students go back and forth based on their skills, abilities, and interests. This year, we also had some internships with the City of Wichita, so we were super glad to include them as well. In Sedgwick County, there's two other Project Search sites. Derby has a Project Search program as well as Mays. So without further ado, I'm going to go ahead and recognize our students.
All right.
First up, we have Jorn Adger Hackney. So Jorn is an intelligent young man with a wealth of knowledge of animals and history. He interned at the Sedgwick County Print Shop, Broadway Home Medical, Old Cowtown Museum, and the Wichita Public Library Advanced Learning Center. After graduation, Jorn plans to volunteer at Cowtown and is looking for a job working with animals.
Thanks, Jordan.
Welcome to say something if you'd like.
I don't know what to say.
Okay, that's okay. Sit down.
No, I want to say something.
Okay.
I just don't know what to say. Let me see.
You can say names.
Thank you.
Good job.
Thanks, Jordan.
Okay. Malik Peaks. He's a strong worker, independent worker with a great personality and work ethic. Pretty tall as well. Interned at Broadway Home Medical, the City of Wichita Housing Department, and Sedgwick County Corrections. After graduation, Malik plans to work at Broadway Home Medical.
Hello. These are people I like to thank and for the support and the appreciation that gave me the opportunity to do Project Search. These are the people I want to thank. I'd like to thank my dad, stepmom, my mom for supporting me and helping me get into this program. Chisholm Life Skills, I thank my homeroom teacher at Chisholm Life Skills, Miss Amanda Benz, and the principal for helping me achieve this achievement. Project Search, I thank Miss Renee and Miss Anna for helping me get into the internships that I am right now. I did. Thank the people that are at JDF, my mentor Randy and the staff there, and JSF and ASF, and the internships also that I did, the other two internships, I thank them too. And those are people I thank that supported me and stuff into this achievement.
Good job.
Angel Renovato Hernandez always has a positive attitude with everything he does. He interned with Martin's Interconnect, Sedgwick County Facilities Custodial, Patient Transport at Ascension Via Christi, and the Sedgwick County Print Shop. After graduation, Angel plans to work at Pizza Hut. Would you like to say that? You don't have to. Okay. All right. Ms. Ayel Sylvia Gonzalez is a good worker with a great personality. He interned at Ascension Via Christi St. Francis in the kitchen, Sedgwick County Facilities and Maintenance and Custodial, and at Martin's Interconnect. Ms. Ayel is currently applying to Martin's and plans to work there after graduation.
Thank you for all the opportunity for Ms. Renee and Ms. Anna to get here to get a real job.
Sabrina Wakefield is a kind and caring individual who works well with others. She interned with the Sedgwick County Tag Office, the Wichita Public Library Advanced Learning Library, Martin's Interconnect, and Botanica Wichita Gardens. After graduation, it says here Sabrina would like to work at Olive Garden, but I think, did you get a job with daycare? Is that correct?
Yes.
Yeah, all right.
To teach with kids.
Yay.
Good job.
Works well here. Cayenne Adger Hackney is a motivated and outgoing person who loves a fast-paced work environment. He interned in facilities, respiratory, transportation at St. Francis Hospital. After graduation, Cayenne is looking to continue working at transportation in the hospital. You like to say anything? Okay. More my size. Axel Anderson has a positive attitude and is always ready to learn new job duties. Axel interned in respiratory and the histology lab at St. Francis. Axel is keeping options open about what they want to do when they graduate.
Thank you for this opportunity. I want to thank my dad, my teachers, the people in lab and respiratory, and most importantly, you guys.
Oh, thank you.
All right, Vincent Mewborn. Vincent is a hardworking and always looking for opportunities. He interned at distribution at St. Francis Hospital and at the Ronald Reagan Building. Vincent works part-time at Dollar Tree at night and on weekends. After graduation, Vincent would really like to be a bus driver.
I know.
Okay, thank you. All right, Nathan Persifield. Nathan is a thoughtful and considerate young man who enjoys taking on new projects. He interned at the Wichita Public Library and in environmental services at St. Francis Hospital. After graduation, he'd like to get a paid job at the library.
Hi, my name is Nathan Persifield, and thank you for coming. And I've been enjoying this program. It helped me a lot, and I've been doing well working at the library, downtown library, and thank you.
Okay, Moises Reyes Castaneda. Castaneda. He interned in distribution, the kitchen catering area, and the kitchen and the retail side at St. Francis Hospital. Moises is wanting to attend college after graduation.
Actually not attending.
Nope. Okay.
I enjoyed Project Search this year, and now that I'm graduating, I applied for 2 jobs already. So, yeah. And I like to thank everybody in the hospital who let me work there. I started at the beginning of the year. And then
distribution, and then Martin's, but that didn't work out. And then I'm back in the hospital in the first floor now, so
Awesome.
yeah.
Good job. And Nyla Winfield. And Nyla is very energetic, enjoys the fast pace of the kitchen. She has interned in respiratory care and the kitchen at St. Francis Hospital. And Nyla is planning on working part-time in the kitchen after graduation.
Yes. Thanks for having me, and I can't wait to work, and I love all the people at work.
All right. All right. Well, I would be remiss if I didn't take a moment to thank all of the folks that make Project Search happen, particularly Renee Richards. This is her first year as a teacher at Project Search, and she really hit the ground running. We're very, very happy to have her. Victoria Williams, who is the teacher at the St. Francis site. And then we have our job coaches, Anna and Tracy. And then we also have in the audience John Pinka, who's the principal at Chisholm Life Skills. Thank you all for making this happen. And thank you all for Sedgwick County supervisors that gave these students a chance to graduate or earn work skills in your program. And I'd love you to share the word to let us know so we can have some more internships for next year. Thank you. Oh, I almost forgot the important part. There are cookies.
Yes.
We have a reception. It's a come-and-go reception after the meeting today, or after we leave here today. Hopefully the meeting won't go too long and you guys can come and grab a cookie. If not, we'll make sure and save some for you. Thank you, guys.
Yeah.
What a great program. Commissioner Reddy?
Yeah, I just want to say thank you, Jeanette, and to the entire team. I also want to thank publicly St. Francis, the Christie St. Francis, and Wichita Public Schools. These are Wichita Public School. That partnership there is incredible, to where they are, the work that they're doing in our developmental disability organization and the partnership that we have with them, to be able to really put individuals into roles where they can learn on-site training. This is a very valuable relationship and partnership. So thank you for leading in that, and thank you again to those organizations. And last but not least, thank you for your work. We're so proud of you. Many of you I would see, especially when you did the mail delivery route. Commissioner Wise and I ran into you at the courthouse, if you remember, a couple of you, and we talked Chiefs football. I'm not really a Chiefs fan. Sorry, Commissioner Meitzer. But some of you are ardent Chiefs fans, and we talked, yeah, there he is, and we talked a lot about Chiefs football, remember? And how John, the mailroom carrier, how much he just enjoyed having you guys with him. You really lifted up his day and encouraged him too. So I want you to know we're proud of you. I want you to know that you have incredible value to anybody that's going to hire you, and you're going to get great recommendations from these commissioners because we've seen the value that you brought to our organization, and you're going to do great work. So we're really proud of you guys. Thanks for joining us.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. If you guys don't mind, we're going to recess for 5 minutes. We'll go out there and take a quick picture and come back in.
Tylenol? I need some, but I haven't eaten anything.
Call the meeting back to order. Madam Clerk, next item.
I think we need to vote.
Yeah,
We need to vote.
receive and file.
Oh, we didn't receive and file. Okay, sorry about that. Okay. I'm going to go ahead and take a motion, make a motion to receive and file.
Second?
I have a motion and a second. Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Commissioner Meitzner.
Aye.
Commissioner Beatty.
Aye.
Commissioner Howell.
Aye.
Commissioner Wise.
Aye.
Chairman Buba.
Aye. And the motion passes 5-0. Next item.
Item D, consideration of 69th Street and North Broadway redevelopment district tax increment financing.
Morning, Brent.
Good morning, Chairman Blubaugh, members of the County Commission. For the record, I'm Brent Shelton, your Deputy CFO, presenting this morning for your consideration the creation of a redevelopment district and to allow tax increment financing on a site that is southwest of 69th Street North and Broadway. This would allow for a residential and small industrial development to occur and to remove this property from the 100-year floodplain. The site is within the city limits of Park City, and it's eligible for tax increment financing because one of the definitions of blight in the tax increment financing statutes is that a majority of the property resides in the 100-year floodplain. You have a map of this 145-acre site, and the FEMA floodplain maps indicate that about 122 of the 145 acres, or 84% of that site, lies within the 100-year floodplain. Now, the developer proposes an infrastructure investment of about $4.2 million to create a detention basin, to use dirt from that to raise the pad elevation on the remaining part of that site, upon which the developer plans to invest about $70 million in residential and some industrial development. The residential would be about 400 units, comprised of single-family, duplex, fourplex, and multifamily. That $4.2 million in detention basin costs would be paid for with tax increment financing. Now, as I go through this presentation, I may use the term development district or TIF district. Just consider those to be interchangeable terms. Let us take a moment and just step back from this specific deal and look at what tax increment financing is and what it is not. Tax increment financing is a financing tool that cities may use to fund infrastructure improvement that's deemed necessary to spur development of a site that's otherwise has some inherent problem. It could be floodplain in the case of the one that we're looking at today, dilapidated structures, or any other of a number of definitions for a blighted area. When employing tax increment financing, the city will define a geographic area, and then they're going to freeze the existing tax base within that area. The governments that levy tax in that area will continue to receive taxes on that tax base. The improvements will be made, paid for with the TIF funds, and then that will spur development, which will generate additional or new taxes. We call those incremental taxes. That additional or new tax revenue pays for that infrastructure improvement. At the conclusion of the payment of those TIF expenses or the statutory end of life of that TIF, you now have a new tax base that's shared by all of the underlying tax authorities. That's what it does. What it does not do is reduce the current property tax levies that we're receiving or that the city or the school districts are receiving. We're going to freeze at a current level of tax levy. It's also not going to increase current property owners' taxes. To the extent that the property isn't developed, they're going to be at the same level they are today. If they make improvements, those improvements would then create that additional tax revenue. And because these are typically city projects, the city and the developer are going to be responsible for revenue shortfalls. We're going to maintain the current level of taxes that we enjoy today. So there's really not a level of fiscal risk that's created on behalf of the county or to the county. now if the mouse will work. Here we go. So part of the process of creating a tax increment finance district is the stage that we're at today is for you to have a bite at this apple. The process begins when the City Council in Park City approved this TIF district on March 24th of 2026. That opens a 30-day window within which the County Commission can do one of three things. First of all, you don't have to do anything. You can just allow 30 days to expire and the TIF district can proceed. You can hear this information and you can pass a resolution to approve the TIF district. The first two will just move the TIF forward. If you find, according to statute, that this TIF would create adverse effect to the county, you may pass a resolution within that 30-day window to veto that TIF, and that will stop it from moving forward. We have defined adverse effect in our county policy, and we're going to look at 5 fiscal matters that we consider when trying to determine that adverse effect. But before we look at that, I want to give you a couple of unique things about this TIF district that we don't always see. First of all is that part of this process is the next step, if it goes beyond today, is that the city would approve a project plan. That project plan begins the process of us being able to collect and distribute incremental tax revenues back to that TIF expense. The project plan for this one by the city ordinance says that they are going to cover the entire TIF district with that project plan. That's important because they don't have to cover the whole TIF district. A project plan starts a 20-year clock. If it doesn't cover the whole district, another project plan could come in place and restart that clock, making a 20-year project could extend out 40 years. That's not the case here because that project plan is intended to cover the whole district. So you know at the beginning that this is going to last a maximum of 20 years. The second thing is that in most TIF districts, all of the incremental revenue goes to pay the TIF eligible expenses. In the case of this TIF, you can see a yellow shaded area on the graph. 25% of the incremental tax revenues, once they begin to generate, are going to be retained or distributed back to the city, the county, the school district, and in this case, the county fire district. This is the first TIF we've seen that the county fire district levies taxes on. So we're not going to wait till the debt is paid or till the TIF expires. We're going to start to see incremental revenues immediately as development begins to occur. So then we do our analysis to look and see if it has adverse effect to the county, and our policy gives us 5 criteria upon which to judge this. If as a Board of Commissioners you determine that any one of these 5 exists, that gives you reason to say that it has adverse effect to the county, and you can vote to veto the tax increment financing district. The first one is that we're going to lose tax revenue and cause us to harm our future delivery of public service. The second one is that for TIF, this is economically feasible, that there's not enough developer skin in the game, that the costs exceed the benefits to the county, or that we just simply may not know enough to recommend we move forward. We took a fiscal look at each one of these 5 items, and what we've determined is, if we take them in order, that the potential, when we're looking at whether or not the potential loss of tax revenue would hinder future delivery of public service, remember that we're going to maintain our current funding level. This property currently generates $800 a year in property tax. That's total property tax amongst all the taxing jurisdictions. We get $150, county fire district about $90. So there's not much risk if we lost all of that. The second thing is, remember that we're going to share in that increment, 25% of that increment going forward. We're going to begin to see some benefits to that immediately. And if there is a worst-case scenario where all the money was spent and no development occurred, the fiscal risk is going back on the city and the developer. We are not involved. We have no risk if it doesn't develop. We typically look at this in terms of delivery of public safety type issues, and because there's a lot of residential development proposed, we took pause because the fire district is involved here. But remember, they're going to begin to share in incremental revenues depending on the speed of the growth of the development. So we did not find adverse effect with the first one. Our but-for argument as to whether or not this project is economically feasible without the county funding support, we looked at leveraging $4.2 million in TIF expenses over up to a 20-year time span. The city would have a couple of ways to finance this. They could just use their incremental tax revenues, if you will, without a TIF. They're about $2 million short over 20 years to be able to generate enough city tax to pay for this infrastructure improvement. Special assessments could be issued for this piece as well, but we're looking at homes in an average price range of about $180,000. If you remember, we got $4 million of the expenses, about 400 houses. That's $10,000 per house in additional infrastructure expense. Might push them out of being competitive in the marketplace. So we did not see that it was feasible without the TIF funding support. The developer has spent some money to this point on surveyor, site work, and so forth. They're also planning a $70 million investment against a $4 million TIF. Our guidelines ask us to look for a 3-to-1 minimum private to public investment. We're at 17-to-1 private to public investment here. Very strong developer equity commitment. They're also, remember, going to guarantee the shortfalls if the project doesn't develop quickly enough to make those debt service or those TIF payments. And finally, that we did not find that the costs to the county government exceeded the benefits. Remember, we've got about $150 a year in current revenue. 3 to 5 years from now, we're looking at a few $1,000s just with the initial beginnings of the growth. And at the end of the period, if this fully builds out, we could see $150,000 a year in county tax revenue. So there's great benefit going forward that can't occur but for the property comes out of the floodplain. Same type of situation for the fire district. $90 turns into $80,000 to $100,000 a year 20 years down the road, and they begin to receive additional income or additional revenues going forward. So because we have what we like to see is a limited in scope TIF, it's a TIF eligible site, TIF eligible project. Currently, this is not generating tax revenues of any significant amount to the county or the fire district. It's providing some needed housing and development, remediating flooding at the site. We don't have financial risk. The county and the other tax authorities get to begin sharing in that increment early on. And the fact that we have some guarantee that it's going to limit the length of time because we've got one project plan for one TIF district. I would recommend today that you take one of two actions. You can receive and file this, take no action, or we would recommend the adoption of a resolution to approve that redevelopment district at 69th Street North and Broadway and to authorize the use of tax increment financing. So I will now stand for questions.
Okay. Commissioner Howell.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Brent, thank you for the great analysis and for the presentation. I know that maybe before I was a commissioner, it was pretty routine that these TIF districts were approved by silence. Essentially, that 30-day clock would run, and it would be approved essentially by default. reminds me of the governor letting laws go into law without her signature, essentially. I think it's better for us to actually have this presentation so the public is aware of what we're doing. I think it's better for transparency, and public awareness. This is one of those TIF districts which I think makes a lot of sense. I have been, in the past, I've been characterized as being anti-economic development, and for the record, I've never voted against one of these yet, because I think when you bring them to us, it's already been analyzed heavily, and you bring us essentially a good proposal. If it wasn't a good proposal, I think you would essentially probably filter that out before it even came to the commission. So we've had a good process. This one actually makes a lot of sense. This land will not be developed without it. The but-for is real. Affordable housing is needed. There's no negative to the county. There's no risk, and so I feel really good about this one. I think that I will be supporting the resolution if there's a motion to do so. Thank you.
Okay. Commissioner Wise?
Yes, Brent, thank you for the presentation. I think this is a really good example of how TIF districts should work. We have a city that's expanding their infrastructure and their services. We have land that is unusable now that will become usable and productive and create a tax base. The thing that I really appreciate about the approach here is that the fire district was considered. Many times when these districts are implemented and taxes are exempt, those places still need fire services, and they still have police or sheriff services that are serving those areas when they grow. So I really appreciate that that was considered in this, and that they are going to be paying into those and we'll say their fair share, I guess, as the development occurs. So that's not always considered. So I just wanted to point that out, that I just really appreciate that it is in this project, and share many of the comments with Commissioner Howe that he shared already. Thank you.
Okay. And I agree. This is, positive all the way around. I mean, it's pulling property out of the floodplain. It's creating affordable housing. So I think this is good utilization. Commissioner Beatty?
Love to. Yep, I'll add no more comments other than agreement. This is a unique one. What's really unique is the 25%. They're not having to wait till the expiration of 20 years. That's actually unique. So I'm grateful for that. I'm grateful for the developers that are investing in District 4. So this is a good deal. I'm excited to make a motion. Okay. I'll make a motion to adopt the recommended action, which adopts the resolution to approve a redevelopment district at 69th Street North and Broadway, and authorize the use of tax increment financing.
Okay, and I'll second that motion. We have a motion and a second. Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Commissioner Meitzner. Aye. Commissioner Beatty.
Aye.
Commissioner Howe.
Aye.
Commissioner Wise.
Aye.
Chairman Blubow.
Aye. And the motion passes 5-0. Next item, please.
Item E, ZON 2025-00057, zone change request in the county from RR Rural Residential to SF20 Single Family Residential with protective overlay number 474, generally located south of West 21st Street North and 1,500 feet west of North 263rd Street West.
Okay. And I do want to ask commissioners, have you had any ex parte communication since the last time that we've spoken about this?
I have not had any ex parte communication and remain open.
Yep. No ex parte communication since the last hearing.
I've had no ex parte communication.
I've had no ex parte communication.
And I've also had none. Thank you.
Thank you. Scott?
Yes, good morning, sir. Scott Wadle from the Planning Department. So the applicant is requesting, as you heard, to rezone this property from RR Rural Residential to SF20. In terms of the request, the applicants indicated they're requesting that zone change in order to allow for a smaller minimum lot size, which will allow them to develop the property into 12 residential lots. The site is generally located to the south and west of 21st Street and 163rd, as you can see here. It's made up of one ownership parcel. It's just over 25 acres in size, zoned rural residential. It's currently undeveloped. It's in agricultural use, and it's not platted, although a plat has been approved, contingent on a zone change approval. In terms of context, properties to the north, south, east, and west are all zoned rural residential. I can show that here. Properties to the north and east are in agricultural and residential use, developed with single-family dwellings. Properties to the south and west are solely in agricultural use. In terms of the staff report, it provides additional information about development standards and septic systems. In terms of review, on December 18th, the Planning Commission held a public hearing for this item and ultimately recommended approval of the applicant's request, and that vote was 9-1. 4 members of the public spoke in opposition to the case, with concerns about the availability of water, lack of adequate drainage, loss of agricultural land. In addition, some also expressed concerns about how the development process is occurring in this general area. 5 valid protests were received against this application. The protests constitute 27% of the protest area. Therefore, in order for the Board of County Commissioners to approve a zone change request, a supermajority is required of 4 of 5 votes. On February 4th, the Board of County Commissioners considered this application, and ultimately it was sent back to the MAPC for further review to consider the possibility of applying a protective overlay, limiting the intensity of development on the site. There were also concerns about accessory apartments being part of the developments, and the consideration about quality and quantity of water in the area. On February 26th, the Planning Commission approved a plat that's associated with this property. That plat was for 12 residential lots, and it prohibits more than 12 lots on the site. And again, that was contingent on a zone change approval. On March 12th, the Planning Commission heard this case for the second time. The MAPC ultimately recommended approval of the applicant's request with a protective overlay, and that vote was 8-1. The applicant's agent attended the MAPC meeting and indicated that the applicant was in agreement with the protective overlay. 2 members of the public spoke in opposition to the case. One of the individuals expressed support for the protective overlay. The primary concerns that were raised concern the following: water quality and quantity in the area, water testing at the site, the density of development at the site and the neighboring property to the east, stress on infrastructure and services, lack of adequate drainage, and loss of agricultural land. The MAPC recommended protective overlay would limit the maximum number of lots to 12. It would also require that the minimum lot size should be no less than 1.5 acres in size and would allow no more than 1 dwelling unit per lot. So in that case, they could not have accessory apartments. On April 8th, the Board of County Commissioners considered this application for a second time and voted to defer the item for 2 weeks to today's date. And there was an expressed desire for a staff meeting to discuss county policy regarding development, intensity, and water in the unincorporated county where wells are utilized. So, in terms of the recommendation coming to you from the Planning Commission is to adopt the findings of the Planning Commission, approve the zone change request with a protective overlay that was described earlier, authorize the chairman to sign the resolution, and authorize the resolution to be published. Again, that requires 4 out of 5 votes because of the protest. Alternatives include the following: you can override the Planning Commission recommendation, make alternative findings, and approve the application with alternative conditions. Again, that would require 4 of 5 votes because of the protest. Another alternative is to override the Planning Commission recommendation, make alternative findings, and deny the application. That requires a simple majority because this case is returning to you from the Planning Commission. In terms of attendance, I believe there are members of the public here, and also the agent is here today. So with that, I'll take you through some of the images. So here is the site outlined in the turquoise color. Here's the zoning map that was described earlier. Here's the map from the comprehensive plan showing that it's not in any future urban growth areas. Likewise, it's not in an urban area of influence from the zoning code. Here's the protest map, again showing 27%. Here's groundwater and rural water district maps showing that it's not located in the rural water districts, nor is it located in the aqueous beds groundwater management district. Here are photos from the site, a little bit foggy, and the surrounding area. With that, I'll stand for any questions.
Commissioners, any questions? Okay. Well, we've been through this one quite a few times now. If we don't have any questions or concerns, I'm just going to make a motion. Go ahead. Go ahead, Commissioner Weiss.
I was just going to speak real quick before the vote that I am going to continue my push to have better regulations in these rural areas. I'm still not comfortable with water resources out there as we look at density. So just to my colleagues, I'm gonna stay where I'm at. I understand that the overlay, the protective overlay, the work that they've done has been somewhat satisfying to see that we have guardrails up and that we're understanding an issue, but I want to continue to push that we improve this. The concern isn't going away, and it's just going to get worse. So I know where I'm going to be at. I respect where all of my colleagues are. I understand that the developer is waiting on us. I don't want to hold anything up on that either, but just wanted to put that on record that still very concerned about water limitations and want to push forward with regulation or some sort of further research done so we can understand how, if we're going to have growth out here, what's the most responsible way to do that. Thank you.
Yep. Commissioner Beatty?
Appreciate Commissioner Wise's thoughts on this, and we share a lot of the same thoughts in regards to what does responsible growth look like. I think there are some sensible ideas that we can discuss on a minimum lot size. I really like the idea of looking at our comp plan and some of our zoning regulations in regards to what is required with single-family zoning versus rural residential and the conditions that apply if we're going to zone in a rural residential area. Right now, it's some of these conditions are if it is or isn't included in an urban growth area. And I think there are some conditions we can add to that are contingent on if there is or isn't a municipal water source or not. There are some things that we can make adjustments there. My sole concern is on domestic wells and the density with domestic wells. This is really unique because this is off the equibed here, and we cannot guarantee not just quantity long-term, but quality long-term. But that is also something that the property owner and the owners of these property are going to have to take into consideration. So I am going to continue to have this conversation about water and continue to have a conversation about what is appropriate and responsible growth. My only contention in this is that the developer at this point in time is playing by the rules that are on the books. I want to adjust some of those rules. I want to make some adjustments to minimum lot sizes and such. But at this point in time, this is the rules they're playing by. And I think that it is incumbent on the commission to honor the rules that we have and to honor the development that's happening at this point in time. So I will vote in the affirmative for this, not because I'm totally comfortable with where we're at in water policy, but because private property rights do matter to me, a significant amount. And this is the policy that we have in place at this point in time. So we will continue moving forward in these conversations. If this was 30 lots on these parcels, then this might be a different story for me. But 12, I think, is a reasonable number that will give me enough comfort right now to move forward with where we're at in the current policy. So I appreciate the conversations and all the work that's going to continue to happen.
Okay. Anyone else? All right, if not, I'm going to go ahead and make the recommendation to adopt the findings of the Metropolitan Area Planning Commission, approve the zone change with protective overlay, sign the resolution, and authorize it to be published.
I don't think we're doing it.
Pardon me?
Chairman, did you want me to address anything in particular? Did you have a question?
Is there public comment?
Yeah.
Is there public comment?
Yeah, I thought you said we weren't opening it up to public.
Yeah, well, just and to be clear, I'll kind of hit this from the ground. There's no requirement at all for a public hearing at the county commission level. That had happened at the planning commission. Customarily, you all have a public hearing, which you did 2 weeks ago. You had closed that public hearing. There's certainly no requirement for you to open it up for a public hearing today, and I never heard you open it, and that's fine. So I mean, there's no requirement for you all to do that. I'd be happy to stand for any other questions. But
if there's someone that wants to speak, I'll open it up. I'll open it.
That's at your discretion, I think, Chair.
Okay, yeah, I was under the understanding we weren't, since we'd already opened and closed the public hearing. But
I think you have discretion if you would wish to do so.
Okay, I mean, it sounds like if someone wants to see, I'll go ahead and open the public hearing. Sure. I don't want to deny anyone. Would anyone like to come forth and speak on this item? If you just please state your name and address for the record.
Michael Meese. I live at 27400 West 21st Street North, which would be the building right over here to the upper left-hand corner. I'm just really drawn off that you guys are changing the rules for them. I mean, it's a 2-acre minimum for well water. It's a that's the way I read it. It states right here in this right here, the current development standards set forth in the Wichita-Sedgwick County Unified Zoning Code requires a minimum of 2 acres in rural residential zoning to build a single-family dwelling. Right here. You know, it's the laws that you guys are supposed to abide by. And yet you're bending him. For anyone, what would be the reasoning for that? You know, it boils down to water. You know, it's the same concerns you guys have already had. The last meeting, you requested that they come forward with some results. They haven't been out there to drill again after they lied the first time about having a well drilled. They drilled a well 2 days prior to coming to this last county commissioners meeting. And my problem is you drill a well in one spot on 20 acres or 25 acres, you don't know what the back 25 acres that's going to produce. You all of you have the ability, I have the ability, he has the ability to pull up results for all the well drilling in our area. And I'm here to tell you it is different from the 3 people that I know of that are within a quarter mile of me. The difference from when we first hit water to the sand bed and such, to clay, all that changes dramatically in our area. I have a hand-dug well in the middle of my yard that changed the water level 14 to 16 feet. 14 to 16 feet when we were in drought. To the highest level to the lowest level was 14 to 16 feet. That's how much the water level changes out there. So that's a huge concern of mine. And you know, it's my understanding, the way I read it, if I run out of water due to this, they have to shut their water off because I'm grandfathered into it. There's a rule in there, I don't know where it was that I read it, but there's a rule in there that states that. So, you know, I just don't understand why we can allow something to be smaller than 2 acres. And there's, you know, something that I brought up prior is, and talked to a buddy of mine that drills wells, he says you have to do a drawdown test. There's no such results from a drawdown test. You know, that's running a well for 12 to 24 hours to find out how much water that ground can actually produce. Well, we don't have that. You know, I want to bring forth to you, because I've talked to our township board members, and he stated that at 151st, would be the northwest corner of 151st and Highway 400. They had a housing community kind of like this, and they were getting their septic was coming up, and they were having to have their septic tanks pumped on a regular basis. Well, U.S. County Commissioners or someone came through and said, well, we're going to connect you to Wichita Water and Sewer. What kind of expense did you have there? You know, and that's, you know, we're another probably 5 to 6 miles further west of Wichita than that. I just don't think it would be feasible to do that. You know, you guys, the cost expense you guys are going to have to get water there is going to be astronomical. And if you have to get sewer too. And the fact that, you know, he stated that there was 2 of us there and 1 of us supported it. I don't know where that came from. I know Brian and I were both there, and Brian couldn't make it today because of business and such, and I have no business being here, but you know, neither one of us support this. primarily because of water, primarily because of other reasons too. But, we're in a rural area. I don't want to see this, which that doesn't matter anyway because that's just the way it is. But, I don't understand how he can come forward and not have anything platted out. How he can come forward and say that, I'm not.
Your thought, please.
Well,
almost out of time. Just want to.
Okay, well, the development that he's done to the east of that, he didn't develop it. He sold the lots. The first person there had to pay for the road to be paved or put in, not paved, but a road to be put in. He had to pay for the electric to get put in. And then the next person that built, well, they just got it because he paid for it already, Why aren't they coming forth and paying for it? I think this will be one of the first housing additions he does that with, that he's going to actually pay to have a road put in. But, at what is that going to come to?
Okay. Commissioners, do you have any questions? Okay. Thank you, sir. Is there anyone else who'd like to speak on this? If not, I'm going to bring it back and we're going to close the public hearing. Commissioner Beatty?
Yep. Scott, would you be able to handle the minimum lot size from 2 to the 1 and then 1.5 where it's settled here?
Yes, sir. Rural residential, RR zoning, which is what the property is currently zoned and all the neighboring properties, does have a minimum lot size requirement of 2 acres. So that is why the applicant is here today, is requesting a rezoning to SF20, which allows a minimum lot size of 20,000 square feet. However, there's also stipulations. SF20 is a little bit squishy when it comes to minimum lot size. One of the caveats to that is that it's 40,000 square feet if there's a residential use that will be served by a private water supply. But as you heard, what's been recommended to you is a protective overlay that will keep the minimum lot size at 1.5 acres. So they would be going from 2 acres in 2 acres for minimum lot size in rural residential to 1.5 acres per the recommendation from the MAPC.
Okay. Any other questions? Okay, I made a motion. I just want to state that I may or may not vote for this. I made a motion strictly for voting purposes. Justin, go ahead.
Yes, Chairman, it's on that topic I did want to raise. Since you did take some public comment after that motion, I would actually suggest, I would just suggest withdrawing your motion, and then you or any other commissioners can make any motion you want, just so that you would have the benefit of that testimony.
Okay, I would like to withdraw my motion, and I will open it up to any other commissioner that would like to make a motion. Mr. Meissner?
Okay. I'll make a motion that we approve the option 1, which is approve the zone change with protective overlay 474, follow MAPC's recommendation, override protest petition, and I move that the board take recommended action. That's my motion.
Okay. We have a motion.
I'll second the motion.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Commissioner Meitzner?
Aye.
Commissioner Beatty?
Aye.
Commissioner Howell?
Aye.
Commissioner Wise?
No.
Chairman Blubow?
No. And the motion passes 3-2.
No.
Actually, Chairman, it requires
Fails.
4 votes to override the protest petition.
It fails 3-2.
And at that point, I would suggest inquiring if there are any other motions.
Okay. Are there any other motions?
I would entertain a motion in regards to the minimum lot size is the big question here. Rural residential is 2 acres. There might be a conditional use opportunity here to extend that and change the protective overlay, not conditional use, sorry, change the protective overlay to 2 acres in order to try to find some sort of amenity here. These are conversations that we're already having in regards to future policy and potential policy to where we're going to adjust minimum lot sizes if rural residential is going to single family or even allowing single family zoning out here, and we just keep it rural residential but we make the adjustments, then it'd be done by right. And I do think there is something to be said for us having some sort of say with protective overlays. So these are conversations that are continuing. I would entertain a discussion around if we made the adjustment to a new protective overlay, changing from 1.5 acres, which failed, so that's done, to potential 2 acres and see if that's more amenable.
Commissioner Howell?
Just for clarification, someone correct my math if I'm wrong, but 1.5 acres is 65,340 square feet. And the SF20 would have been 20,000 square feet. And you talked about the 40,000 square feet if it had its own private water well system. But the 1.5 acres is actually 65,000 square feet. 1 acre being 43,560 square feet. So 1.5 is 65,340. I guess my question is, we're essentially three times the land size required for SF20.
Yes,
1.5 acres, which we just turned down. So the 2 acres, essentially, why would they even change the zoning at all? We'll just leave it rural residential. Or fits their needs. If we're going to go back to 2 acres, then why would we even rezone this at all? That's my question. What do they get for SF20 with a 2 acre requirement? Why is that different than just rural?
Can I ask a question on that, a follow-up, Commissioner Howell? The question he raises is a valid question. Rural residential already has a 2 acre minimum lot size. Yeah. If this fails today at the rezone to SF20, can this developer just go develop a housing addition with 2 acres with no protective overlay at all now? They have by right can go out and do 2 acre lots, correct?
Yes, sir.
So they can continue to do 2 acre lots without any protective overlay at all. So I think the conversation that we should be having is there enough in a protective overlay here that we would want to have some sort of regulation on what's going on out there? Because he can go in a rural residential zoning, and if the zone change at 1.5 acres with the protective overlay is dead, he can still go develop this lot with minimum 2 acres, correct? He can still develop the lot. Now it's 2 acres with no protective overlay. What is the septic regulations for 2 acres in rural residential right now?
I will defer to MABCD.
Thank you. Here's Chris. And Scott, could you warm up the protective overlay that exists now and give a quick brief again, just so the public's aware of what's existing?
Good morning, Chairman, Commissioners. Chris Laborman, MABCD. Sir, is your specific question, could they reduce below 2 acres, or what would be required?
Why don't you give us the policy now on rural residential, septic, lagoon, what the minimum lot sizes are?
So as it stands now, you can technically reduce to 2 acres and still have a lagoon with a variance from our department. Given this location and those soils, I do not believe that would be an option. So they would be looking at advanced systems and septic as well as the well, but yeah, that's what we would look for on the 2 acre lots here. They would have the option to inquire about a lagoon.
Okay.
Commissioner Meissner?
Yeah, Scott or Chris. So overall, in the planning application process, zoning planning, can any applicant on a number of occasions ask for exceptions, protective overlays? That's, my history says that's not unusual. And then it's up to the planning commission to say it's okay or not, or reject or not. So the previous speaker was telling us that we're going against the rules. We're not going against the rules, the way I understand it.
The way that I interpret that is number one, to your question, yes, property owners are able to make zoning requests for anything that they want to request.
Okay, so sir, that we're not the accusation that we were is not. We are following the rules under the Planning Commission. If an applicant, a property owner, wants to make a request for changes, that happens on many cases. So I just wanted to make sure, for the record, that that's understood.
And that's Commissioners, what Scott wanted me to clarify there is based on the question with the lagoon, to ensure that we've clarified that the zoning regulations would allow them to go down to 1 acre with the septic system.
For rural residential.
But that that would not be allowed under rural residential because of the 2-acre lot.
If I could, yeah, I'll step in with just a couple of things. Number one, you've got two factors here. You've got the sanitary code, and then you've also got the zoning code. And so, in terms of rural residential allows 2-acre. SF20, as we've determined, allows 20,000, but if they're using private wells, so in this situation they are, it could go down to 40,000 square feet. But you also have the sanitary code, which says if you're using a lagoon, you can get down to 2 acres with a variance, but if you're using a septic system, you can get down to 1 acre. So that's going to require them to be at that 1 acre size, even if they get approved for something smaller in zoning. Does that make sense? Because you have to go with whichever is the larger minimum lot size, either from the sanitary code or from the zoning code. So in this instance, what is being requested is SF20, and the minimum that it would be allowed would be 1 acre, depending on how they're taking care of the sewage system. And my assumption is that would be septic. So they'll be at 1 acre. They've already platted this out. The plat, which again is contingent on the zoning, is laid out in 1.5 acre sizes.
Okay, so the protective overlay and the zoning that was requested and the protective overlay that was put in place had some guardrails that we want to see. That failing, those guardrails go away now. And that's why I think that some of the protections that I have in mind for water, I think we do need to move something from the commission. I don't think turning it away and letting go rural residential and just doing it according to code is going to satisfy the preventative measures that we wanted put in place to guard against water. So I think we're in a very precarious situation right now that it was well intent, but I think we might undo something and make a situation worse in regards to water if we're not a little bit more proactive here. So I know there's other lights on. I'll yield and wait and listen to comments, but I have some ideas maybe how we can move this forward.
Commissioner Howell?
Thank you, Chairman. Just another observation. So this is a 25.14 acre piece of property. If you divide that by 1.5 acres, you get 16.76 lots. Of course, that doesn't allow for ingress and egress, driveways or whatever that's needed there. But rather than 16.76 lots, the overlay was for 12. And the 12 could not have accessory apartments. And I think based on just your last comment, one of you made, under rural residential, even though it requires 2 acres, there's a way to get less than 2 even under rural residential. Is that what you said?
So it's whichever one has the larger minimum lot size. If they stay at rural residential, then the minimum lot size will be 2 acres per zoning, even though the sanitary code would allow them to go down to 1 acre if they use a septic system. The zoning code will constrain them to a larger minimum lot size, which is 2 acres.
Here's the kicker. So can a rural residential lot have an accessory apartment?
Yes.
So that means you could potentially have essentially take a 2 acre lot and have 2 dwelling units on it. One is a main home, one is an accessory apartment.
One quick caveat to that is that they would have to come forward for a zoning action in order to be allowed. The accessory apartment would require a conditional use.
Yeah, but I can't think of the last time we said no, honestly. It doesn't happen very often.
Yes, sir. It does not happen very often.
In fact, we've even talked about doing that by right because it's so non-controversial.
That actually is another conversation we have spun up. So we have that ongoing.
So I guess my point is we could not change zoning at all, and potentially you'd have 24 dwelling units showing up there, potentially, and each one could have its own septic system, essentially. And if they can't support, if the soil doesn't support that, an alternative system, potentially. But my point is, you can have 24 families living on the same lot without even changing the zoning. The 12 lots without accessory apartments was actually more restrictive. By voting no, we essentially are allowing something that's even maybe worse in the eyes of the opponents. So I'm flabbergasted by where we're at right now. This has been going on since October, and now we're basically allowing my opinion, maybe a worse situation by being opponents to this. And by the way, every one of those apartments, every one of those dwelling units can have their own water well. there's no restriction on how many water wells you have per home. So I think potentially we just ended up with something worse. Thank you.
Mr. Watts.
Many of my thoughts have already been shared and then answered, but I think what Commissioner Howell just said is we're choosing between potentially more regulations that are protective for a lot size of 2 acres versus 1.5. I'm anxious to hear. Commissioner Beatty said he has some ideas for solutions. I guess I'll pause and save some of my thoughts until if he wants to share those with us. Because every time these cases come up, they're going to be emotional in a onesie-twosie, and I'd like to have a better system here where it's not an emotional decision, it's a decision that makes sense. So I don't know, Commissioner Beatty, if you're ready to share those, but I'd ask for that.
I appreciate that, Commissioner. I would just say that we would keep the bulk of the protective overlay in place that was initially recommended by staff, which would be I would make the following adjustments, that the maximum number of lots shall be 10, and that's because of the setbacks that I'm doing by math. The max, point number 2 in the overlay, maximum or minimum lot size shall be no less than 2 acres, which is consistent with rural residential zoning. And then the second or the third protective overlay is the same as what was previous. No more than 1 dwelling unit shall be allowed per lot. So just some small adjustments that are made to the maximum number of lots and the minimum lot size would hopefully accomplish some what we're trying to get accomplished here.
So does that change the zoning to SF20, or is that remaining at rural residential?
It would still go, and because if it remains at rural residential, I think that doesn't offer the protections that we are asking to have, correct? Yeah.
I mean, I think that is something that should be considered. I can be mostly agreeable. I think my biggest concern here is setting precedents on getting SF20 out in rural areas in a zoning matter in general. But as others have shared, we have policy set in place today, and maybe that policy needs to be addressed and modified. I'd like to see that, but I also understand that we haven't made it through that yet, though we've tried.
Mr. Meister?
I'm kind of aligned with what Commissioner Howell's last comments were, but if we're going to try to tell a developer what he's supposed to do, if we voided the previous recommended action, which was the protective overlay, and now we're trying to design something for the developer, could we, out of courtesy, could he ask the representative of the developer what he can or cannot live with, if that's all right?
Sure.
You want to invite the developer, the representative, to, if he's here?
Yeah, he's here. Yep. Would you like to come to the bench or come to the podium?
Good morning, Commissioners. I'm Bill Fox, Garber Surveying Service, 544 West Douglas. We are the agent for the developer. I don't think I need to back up and talk about how we've got to this point, but I think I can say that the plat was approved with 10 lots, and if that's what we get, that's what we're going to do. It will eliminate access to the adjacent property because we're going to take that street back. If you recall, with the original 10 lots, the street did not extend all the way to the adjacent property. That's one of the things we were asked to change, and we did. Extended the street all the way through, but that also loss of that area meant we didn't have the required lot size anymore. So we requested 2 additional lots to offset the additional cost of the street, is how we got to 12 lots. And so if we're going to go back to 10, we'll do that. I think does that answer the question?
Yeah, what was the reason, the conversation around the access, was that for public safety reasons to get to the adjacent lot, or what was the reasoning to try to get to the adjacent lots?
I guess the first thing to point out is that what Mr. Fox has just referenced is the plat. You've not seen the plat. The plat has not come to you, so don't feel like you're not. That because the platting process is separate and because it was approved by the Planning Commission, it's not been something that's come to you. And the reason why it hasn't come to you is because it hasn't come to you for the dedications for the roads and everything, because it's on pause subject to whether or not the zoning gets approved, because the plat was approved with smaller lots than what the current zoning allows, so it cannot proceed unless the zoning is changed. Now, in terms of the connectivity, I'm more than happy to discuss that, but it's a policy in the subdivision regulations to require connections to unplatted properties that are adjacent or to street stubs that are adjacent in order to promote connectivity, which gets into that's a whole nother topic that's being discussed right now in another conversation.
Okay. Commissioner Howell?
Thank you. Just to clarify then, the plat has been filed. Plats are fairly, it's a longer process than I would really like. I'd like to see us streamline the platting process, but is he going to have to change the plat based on what we do? If this goes to 10 or 12, is the plat have to be changed at that point? What's filed right now is for 12?
My understanding is that the plat that was approved by the Planning Commission but has not been recorded yet because of the zoning. My understanding is that it would have to be modified if a zone change is not approved because it's based on smaller lots than what is allowed in rural residential.
So if we go back to 10, he'll have to start over again.
I'll defer to the applicant on that one because I'm not as familiar. I did not bring the plat with me today, but I'll defer to the applicant on that one.
So the plat that's farthest in the process has 12 lots or 10 lots?
The plat currently has 12 lots.
So if we change this to 10, we have to basically go backwards and basically possibly do this plat differently, which is going to, I think it sets us back in time. And I assume probably money as well. And plats are fairly expensive, so that's just a point here. I guess I don't see. I'll probably support the 10 if that comes up to a vote, or the 12, because the difference in water usage, if you're using it outdoor water usage, I'm not sure that changes between 10 or 12. In terms of people living there, the difference is probably about 1,000 gallons per day. So for the entire area. So I don't know that we're going to substantially change the risk of water availability long-term for this area based on 2 homes. I just don't think that's really not. I think we're overstating the importance of these 2 homes. So if things are that risky and we're that worried about this, we probably shouldn't do this at all. I don't know that 2 homes is going to substantially change anything we're talking about today. I do think it's unfortunate that we're changing our direction at this late in the process. This has been going on for most of about half a year now. So I feel bad for you, sir. And whatever motion comes before us, I'll support the motion. I don't think that this is a significant change in the plan in terms of protecting the water or changing what happens out there. And generally speaking, it's just 2 homes out of 12, or there's 10 homes or 12 homes. I don't think it's substantial. Thank you.
I would like to bring it to your attention that it's not 2 homes. It's 15 homes.
Sir, that's enough. You've already had your opportunity for public comment. Please sit down.
Okay, I am. If it's okay with you, I'm happy to make a motion. It appears to me, from the applicant agent, that 25 acres in this lot, that based on required setbacks that are in single family, that I don't know if you could get 12 dwelling units in 25 acres with the setbacks that are required and such. I feel like 10 is exactly where I'm doing rough math in my head, but I'm going to make one comment and I'm going to make a motion that we I'm imploring us to continue to press forward on the conversations around what is rural residential, what is single-family appropriate zoning for rural areas. Can we make adjustments in rural residential that guard the interests and protections that we have? I would love to see us have that conversation. And to be quite frank, if we can just handle the rural residential zoning, we don't have to go to the city of Wichita to get approval. This is a joint zoning. So we can have this conversation about what's impacting rural Sedgwick County without having to go to the city of Wichita. So I just think there's opportunities here to protect the interests that we have all talked about from here and to move that quickly. And I would like to see that before we get another application. And I think it's incumbent on us to try to get that done. I'm going to make a motion with my glasses on, and this is going to require 4 votes, to approve the zone change with protective overlay modifications. And I have 3 of them. The first is the maximum number of lots shall be 10. The second is the minimum lot size shall be no less than 2 acres in size. And the third condition is no more than 1 dwelling unit shall be allowed per lot. And I'm making those recommendations on the protective overlay primarily because of the extent to which removal of these protective overlay restrictions will detrimentally affect the nearby properties. And I'm doing this based on the guidelines and recommendations of the permanent and professional staff. So that is my motion. It'll require 4 votes.
Okay, we have a motion.
I'd like to make that second, and I'd like to just make a quick comment before we go. I'm sorry. I'd like to second that and make a quick comment before we go into our vote. I'm going to support this, and the reason I'm going to support this is because I think that the protections with this protective overlay are greater than the rights that there are today, and that this is a responsible way to handle this application today. I really think that we can get this fixed, and I'd like to see it fixed as well before we see another application before us.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Commissioner Meitzner.
I'd like to know, Mr. Fox, can the developer live with this motion?
Come to the podium, please.
As I understand it, we're going to go back to 10 lots.
Correct.
That's the motion.
And you want to repeat the protective overlay requirements so he understands?
Minimum lot size, 2 acres, and only 1 dwelling unit per lot.
Okay. Yeah, I think we're okay with that.
Okay, thank you. So your roll call.
Commissioner Meitzner.
Aye.
Commissioner Beatty.
Aye.
Commissioner Howell.
Aye.
Commissioner Wise.
Aye.
Chairman Bluebow.
Aye, and the motion passes 5-0. Next item, please.
Item F, consideration of application in the amount of $444,468 from U.S. Department of Justice for Edward Byrne Memorial Justice Assistance Grant, Program Fiscal Year 2025.
Morning, Commissioners.
Morning.
Carrie Malin, Grant Administrator, Sedgwick County Department of Finance. I'm here today to present to you the 2025 Edward Byrne Memorial Justice Assistance Grant, also known as JAG. JAG is a formula grant program and is a leading source of federal justice funding for state and local jurisdictions. This program is named in honor of New York City police officer Eddie R. Byrne, who was killed on February 26, 1988, while protecting a witness in a drug case. In the early morning hours, Officer Byrne was sitting in his patrol car outside of a witness's home when armed assailants approached and opened fire. He was taken from Memorial Immaculate Hospital, where he died from his injuries at just 22 years of age. Today, the JAG program provides critical funding for state, tribes, and local governments to support personnel, equipment, supplies, contractual support, training, technical assistance, and information systems used in criminal justice and civil proceedings. The total 2025 award is $444,468, with Sedgwick County receiving 50%, or $222,234. This is an increase of nearly 15% compared to the county's 2024 award. Sedgwick County and the City of Wichita are currently classified as disparate jurisdictions, which means the funding is awarded to a single allocation and then divided between 2 entities through a mutual agreement. This slide shows the amounts requested by each department, the advisory board recommended funding amounts, and each department's allocation percentage. For 2025, departments submitted requests totaling $225,318. After reviewing the requests, the committee recommended allocations based on the availability grant amount of $222,234. In previous years, courthouse police was listed separately because it operated as its own department. Since it's been integrated into the sheriff's office, their requests are now included within the sheriff's office totals. Recommended items are ranked by priority. The advisory board worked together to determine which priorities were funded for each department. The following information outlines its items recommended for funding. The total cost listed includes eligible indirect costs. The Sheriff's Office requested electronic control devices, equipment, monitors, and detection software. Corrections requested to renew their license for body cameras. The District Attorney Office requested to renew license for software, purchase equipment, laptops, desktops, and an AV system. The Regional Forensic Science Center requested to replace equipment. That completes the request for 2025 JAG grant funding. At this time, is the staff's recommendation that you open the public hearing, accept public comments, and then close the public hearing. After the public hearing, it is recommended that you approve the submission of the grant application, acceptance of the grant if awarded, authorize the chairman or designee, the grant administrator or grant compliance director, to sign all necessary documents, including both the grant agreement containing substantially the same terms and conditions as the application, authorize establishment of budget authority until the conclusion of the grant terms, and allowing for remaining balances at the end of each calendar year to be established in the next fiscal year. With that, I stand for questions. Thank you.
Okay. Any questions, commissioners? All right. If we don't have any questions, I'm just going to go ahead and move to take the recommended action.
And Chairman, I did want to clarify, this grant's very specific that you have to open it.
Okay, I'll go through the whole thing. Okay, I'm going to take the action to open the public hearing, accept public comments, and close the public hearing, approve the submission of the grant application, acceptance of the grant if awarded, authorize the chairman or designee, grant administrator or grant compliance director to sign all necessary documents, including both the grant agreement containing substantially the same terms and conditions as the application, authorize establishment of the budget authority until the conclusion of the grant term, and allowing for remaining balance at the end of each calendar year to be established in the next fiscal year.
And I apologize, Chairman, I should have been a little more detailed in what I said. I think first you would just need to open the public hearing itself, see if any members of the public want to comment on the grant application that's proposed, and then if there are comments, receive them, and then close the hearing and move forward. And you can incorporate the rest of the recommended action that's already been announced if you want to.
Okay,
sorry.
So I guess open the public hearing. Does anyone have anything? Okay. If not, we'll close the public hearing. There you go.
And Chairman, any motion could just incorporate what's in the recommended action at this point. I think it's in the record.
Yeah, make a motion to approve the recommended action. Read it again. Okay, I'd like to make a motion to approve the recommended action.
Second.
Motion is second. Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Commissioner Meitzner. Commissioner Beatty.
Aye.
Commissioner Howell.
Aye.
Commissioner White.
Aye.
Chairman Bubaugh.
Aye. The motion passes 5-0. Next item, please.
Item G, report of the Board of Bids and Contracts regular meeting on April 16, 2026.
Morning, Joe.
Good morning, Mr. Chairman, Mr. Chairman and Commissioners. Joe Thomas, Purchasing Director. Got to remember where I'm at. The Board of Bids and Contracts, the regular meeting of April 16th, has 3 items that we are seeking your approval. The first one is the 2026 BM overlays for Public Works, and that recommendation is to accept the low bid from Pearson Construction LLC. It's in the amount of $1,234,615.04. Item 2 is permitting, licensing, and code enforcement solution for MABCD and MAPD for the Division of Information Technology. And that recommendation is to accept the proposal from Maint Star Incorporated. It's in the amount of $1,954,347.37, and that covers a contract period of 10 years. Our final item is the Information Technology Products and Services for the Division of Information Technology. And this recommendation is to utilize the Omnia Partners Contract, which is number 202-4056-01. And it's with CDW LLC. They're doing business as CDW Government LLC. And this is good through July 1st of 2028 and has 3 one-year options to renew. I'll be happy to try to answer any questions you may have and recommend approval.
Okay. Commissioner Howell?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. On that middle item, is this I assume this is software?
Yes. It's
okay. Is this new software that we've never had before? I see that on year 1 the numbers are much higher, and I'm just curious if this is a new thing we're doing, or what? Is this a renewal?
Yes, sir. Good morning again. Commissioner Chris Labrum, MABCD. This is the replacement for our current Hanson software suite. So this replaces our entire permitting, licensing software, and this actually has an inspection, and this actually has integrated plan review as well. So under the current proposal, we will utilize their integrated commercial plan review suite.
I don't think it says it anywhere, but this actually is the low bid, I believe. Looks like it is. Looks like it's the low bid.
It is. There is one bid that came in lower, but that is a plan review suite only. That was Evolve letting us know they didn't want to lose our business.
Right.
So it is not a complete solution, but this actually, in the end, ended up being the low bid of the solutions that we were provided.
Thank you. That's all my questions. Thank you.
Okay. Any other questions? Not, I'd like to make a motion to approve the recommended action of the Board of Bids and Contracts.
Second.
A motion, a second. Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Commissioner Meitzner. Aye. Commissioner Beatty.
Aye.
Commissioner Howell.
Aye.
Commissioner Wise.
Aye.
Chairman Blulow.
Aye. Motion passes 5-0.
Thank you.
Next item.
Consent agenda.
Good morning, Chairman of Commission. Tom Stoltz, County Manager's Office, recommending approval of consent items H through N on regular agenda.
Okay. Any questions on items H through N? If not, I'd like to make a motion to approve consent items H through N.
Second.
A motion, a second. Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Commissioner Meitzner. Aye. Commissioner Beatty.
Aye.
Commissioner Howell.
Aye.
Commissioner Wise.
Aye.
Chairman Blulow.
Aye. Motion passes 5-0. Next item, please.
Committee reports.
Any committee reports? Okay. Next item.
Other.
Other. Anything on other? Commissioner Beatty?
Yep. Today is officially Administrative Professionals Day. It's on your calendars. If you get the Apple calendar, it auto-loads it. And I think it's pertinent for us to pause and just say thank you to a lot of people that make our lives really, really, really not just simple, but they make this job work for us. There's a lot of people behind the scenes on the staff level that do a lot of work. For us in particular in the county, I know there's a lot of people in Sedgwick County, and I think every department has those that they'll be thanking. But for us, particularly, obviously, Linda Baker in our office, she makes our lives work, not just our calendars, but she finds a way to get things done and get us where we're supposed to be on time, and she's fabulous. So we are incredibly grateful for her, and she gets a lot of help too. Sherry, who directly works for Tom, but Sherry substitutes in there and helps us, and she's equally involved in what's happening in the commission office. Haley, who's fairly new upstairs on the 6th floor in that regard, she also is very active in what we do in the commission office. So I just want to pause and just tell them in particular, thank you for all the work that you do for us. It is not unnoticed, and the citizens don't get to see that you are very much involved in the work that happens to make sure the commission has the tools, the resources, and the bandwidth to do the work we do to represent people. So it's very appropriate just to pause today and thank Linda and the gang for all the work that they do. So
I want to echo those comments as well. They're the front line. They're the face of us. When you reach out to our office, that's who you're talking to, and they're very proactive in getting folks to the right place. And I also want to add, before Commissioner Wise and I came on here, actually you reduced the head count, so you've got Linda doing a position that used to be done by 2 folks. So it's just we got a good synergy between the 3 in there, and appreciate Cherry and Haley and everything that they do. So thank you guys. So next item.
Executive session.
Executive session. Commissioner Wise?
Yes, we do have an executive session. I'd like to move that the Board of County Commissioners recess into executive session for 20 minutes until, we'll call it 11:40, for consultation with legal counsel for the county regarding matters deemed privileged in the attorney-client relationship in order to discuss Kansas statutes in a matter the board may consider pursuant to such statutes, and that the Board of County Commissioners returns to this room from executive session at 11:40.
Okay. And I'll second that motion. Madam Clerk, please, or we don't need to, I guess. Yeah.
Vote, yeah.
Yeah.
Commissioner
Yeah.
Commissioner Meitzner.
Sorry.
Commissioner Beatty.
Aye.
Commissioner Howell.
Aye.
Commissioner Wise.
Aye.
Chairman Blubow.
Aye. And motion passes 5-0. Executive session till 11:40. We're returning from executive session, and no binding action was taken. Have a good day.